Which video game franchise should be revived? Which video game franchise should be revived? What I loved about SSX3 was the sheer absurd arcade Uber system and points that you would accumulate. It was addicting trying to fit in the most spins, rotations or tricks to get super Uber. Like that feeling of just pure momentum and power from getting all your tricks lined up one after the other was chef's kiss. Aside from that, it had a super deep customization system for a game like this with stats and cosmetics and various playable characters. Really great to be able to unlock mountains but then upgrade your character to take it on, whether you spin fast or handle better. My only fear is that, being an EA title, there is no doubt in my mind it would never come back the way we'd imagine. You're going to get microtransactions out the ass for things like cosmetics or even stats. God forbid you introduce loot boxes into the franchise. The game world was fucking massive as well. The city in Jak 2 was already gigantic, and then Jak 3 added various areas of the wastelands which were an order of magnitude bigger than that on top of it. The first game was pretty damn sizable too. They kind of hit a high note for 3D platformer / collect-a-thon style games. Honestly, that whole genre needs to make a comeback. There was something so satisfyingly simple about wandering around huge areas trying to hunt down all the various tokens and achieve certain goals to unlock the mega tokens that let you progress further in the game. Mario 64 and Banjo-Kazooie / Banjo-Tooie kicked off the genre and it only got better from there, with series like Jak, Ratchet and Clank and Sly Cooper just perfecting it with deep stories tied to all of the exploring / collecting. I really want to see a revival of AAA titles from major studios that follow the same pattern and don't lean on ridiculous difficulty / Souls-like combat to push more sales. Just deliver us a huge world that's unique and fun to explore, lots of fun ways to explore it, a cast of lovable characters and a good story to motivate us to go exploring for those various MacGuffins. Gaming need not be something massively complicated. Just fun. I've been saying this for years. Change the setting from a small private school to a big public school in the suburbs. Expand the social cliques feature beyond just preps, nerds, and jocks. Bring in the punks, goths, rednecks, skaters, stoners, rich kids, etc. One of the coolest features of the original game was how literally every student had a personality and unique features and an in-game opinion on you which you could influence. Keep that, multiply it by 100. Your player character is a new kid, a troubled orphan living in a group home. You get to keep the strict curfew game mechanic, and the walled garden safe house structure. The map is a busy suburban corridor surrounded by seemingly endless cul-de-sac neighborhoods in various states of decay. There's weird Easter eggs in the surrounding woods. The player tries to get through their classes and navigate the complicated social strata, ultimately falling in with the wrong crowd. The Savage franchise. An extremely unique set of games, with beasts vs humans in an asymmetrical battle that was surprisingly well balanced. It was essentially an RTS, with the commanders placing buildings and structures to increase resource generation and defenses while protecting their base. However, the units were players, playing something like a 3D MOBA. The battles could be huge, with matches of up to 50, I think, players in 25 vs 25 combat. But it could be scaled down as well, for an easier competitive scene. The commanders gave orders to their players, pinged locations and strategies, demanded vision in certain areas. A good commander would allow his team to absolutely destroy the opposition through strategy, while relying on the skills of his players for the individual battles. A good player could easily take on 5 others and win, being a huge asset for their commander. Map control would reward the players with new units, some that specialized in sieges and building destruction, others that specialized in PvP combat, or even scouting units that could place vision and stealth. When a player died, they would respawn with a unit of their choice. If esports had blown up when Savage 1 or 2 were in full bloom, I guarantee they would have overtaken League of Legends as the most fun to watch game. Every game has died within a year or two, because the company in charge never fixed basic issues and essentially gave up on their game as soon as it was released. Truly tragic. This one may be a hard sell to some people, but I feel like the Final Fantasy XV world was dreadfully underdeveloped while also showing great promise at the same time. Even with the DLC and extended media, the world never felt like it reached its fullest potential. I thought they'd maybe make a prequel at some point, but then the guy directing the brand randomly up and left, so all the DLC planned was cancelled, and they made it clear there was still more of that world to be had even after all that. I've always felt soured from all that. I know this isn't exactly what you asked for, but with me anyway, franchises that I consider dead are still successful but don't hold anything of what I valued anymore, so I've just stopped buying them, so I put up what I think is the closest thing to it. I live in not the best neighborhood in Brooklyn, and a few weeks ago I was walking my girlfriend's small black three-legged dog late one night. There's a lot of guys that hang out by a busy corner drinking/smoking on their stoops. One of them went to take a leak by a building's trash area. He was facing the building with his back to me. So, as he was peeing, Pepper, the dog, decided she was going to be stubborn and just sit down. I kept trying to get her to get up so we could go home. As I was calling her and telling her, "Come on, let's go," the guy peeing locked eyes with me through a mirror that was in the trash pile. Yo, what the fuck? He couldn't see the dog I was talking to because she was 10 feet behind me in the shadows. He thought I was trying to fight him while I was watching him take a leak. Not at all the case. As he was zipping up and turned around, Pepper hopped up and trotted by and broke all the tension. He was like, "Oh shit, my bad. I didn't know you were talking to the dog." We laughed about it and carried on our separate ways. Theater kid in high school, had a scene where I had to tie a girl to a chair with a specific knot so it looked real but could be undone super quick by her just tugging something and it all coming undone. Anyway, I'm practicing the knot with her in the classroom during an off period so I could get it right. Cue gym teacher walking into the room to ask theater teacher something and seeing a girl gagged and getting tied to a chair while we were the only two in the theater classroom. Fun times. Edit. Few quick things I thought I'd add after replying to comments. Scene was after her character gets kidnapped, so that's why we went to all the lengths to make her look like a hostage. She agreed to everything we did, even suggested the gag herself to be authentic. Take that how you will. Teacher who found us was super chill and knew most of the theater kids anyway and supported the theater anyway. He told us through the visible concern, "Please tell me this is for a scene cause I don't want to be there for this trip to the Principal." I told him, "Yeah, just practicing to get the knot right and another scene is on stage." He just nodded and went to find theater teacher. Again, I never thought to take her gag off to let her help me explain cause I'm an idiot. Later our theater teacher decided we'd have certain places to practice sensitive scenes. Similar thing happened to me, but it was because I had a terrible headache at work, and the work colleague who gave me the headache pills failed to mention they were effervescent and had to be put into water. Worse, I was just running from work to get on a 2-hour train trip to my parents' house. So I swallowed the pills on the train with a sip of water from my water bottle, and immediately felt something was very wrong. Now not only do I have a terrible headache, but my intestines are fizzing. My guts were not impressed, and soon my bowels began to cramp. This was the very last train for the day, so if I got off at a station to go to the toilet, I'd be stuck overnight in the middle of bumfuck nowhere. However, I knew at one station the train would stop and sit there for a few minutes while the guards changed over. But there was no way I would make it to the toilet carrying all my luggage and back again in time. So I risked running off the train, abandoning my luggage, for an express toilet bowel explosion. Fortunately the carriage was empty, because I don't know what people would think, seeing someone leaving a bunch of luggage on a train, and absolutely sprinting away like their life depended on it. They might have thought it was for another type of explosion. Fortunately I managed to get to the toilet, clean up, and get back on the train before it took off with my luggage. But it was still a pretty miserable train trip. I was helping out a female coworker by giving her a ride home from work every day. She was going through a divorce and was having car issues with her ex. We both worked the same hours and it was a short distance, so I was happy to help. Anyway, one day she told me that a mouse had gotten into her bedroom, which was over her garage. I told her it's probably a simple fix, like maybe the mouse came up through a heat vent or small hole somewhere near the floor. I go up to her bedroom and get down on all fours looking for somewhere that the mouse was getting in. I took off my glasses and set them on her nightstand next to her bed. I found a small opening by a plumbing pipe and jammed some paper in it to block it off. I got up and told her that was the only place I could see and that I thought it might be fixed. I then walked out to my truck and drove home. 2 hours later, I get a call from my friend who says that her soon-to-be ex had come over and found my glasses on the nightstand. She tried to explain to him that it was completely innocent and I was just looking for a hole where the mouse may have gotten in. He just looked at her and said, "Yeah, I am sure he was here looking for a hole." Senior year of high school, end of the year, and it's been balls hot for days and for some reason the AC isn't working. I have this pain in my taint and scrotum area and I'm complaining about it to my friend next to me in biology class. I really don't want to go tell the nurse or have a parent look at it, so I ask my friend if he'll take a peek. This was before everyone had a cell phone with a camera to do this sort of thing. He says, "Sure bro, I got you." The teacher tells us to split into pairs to quiz each other with flashcards for the final and then excuses himself to the bathroom. My friend and I pair up and head to the back of the lab where there's a walk-through office to the next lab and close the door behind us and move out of sight of the windowed doors, and I drop my shorts and undies and he squats down to take a look as I move my junk up and out of the way for a clear view. In walks the teacher because he wanted to grab his water bottle out of the office on his way back from the bathroom. I'm standing facing him and my friend is squatting in front of me, definitely looking like he's blowing me from the teacher's perspective. Teacher freezes and can't find words as I rush to cover myself and my friend turns around and blurts out, "I'm not sucking it, I'm just looking." Teacher backs out of the office and won't look either of us in the eye for the last week of school. Edited to add for everyone asking. It just turned out to be a boil. I managed to drain it later in the shower and it healed up fine. Senior year of high school, end of the year, and it's been balls hot for days and for some reason the AC isn't working. I have this pain in my taint and scrotum area and I'm complaining about it to my friend next to me in biology class. I really don't want to go tell the nurse or have a parent look at it, so I ask my friend if he'll take a peek. This was before everyone had a cell phone with a camera to do this sort of thing. He says, "Sure bro, I got you." The teacher tells us to split into pairs to quiz each other with flashcards for the final and then excuses himself to the bathroom. My friend and I pair up and head to the back of the lab where there's a walk-through office to the next lab and close the door behind us and move out of sight of the windowed doors, and I drop my shorts and undies and he squats down to take a look as I move my junk up and out of the way for a clear view. In walks the teacher because he wanted to grab his water bottle out of the office on his way back from the bathroom. I'm standing facing him and my friend is squatting in front of me, definitely looking like he's blowing me from the teacher's perspective. Teacher freezes and can't find words as I rush to cover myself and my friend turns around and blurts out, "I'm not sucking it, I'm just looking." Teacher backs out of the office and won't look either of us in the eye for the last week of school. Edited to add for everyone asking. It just turned out to be a boil. I managed to drain it later in the shower and it healed up fine. Awesome. A fellow staring enthusiast. I have a couple of tricks I do in order to do this as well. One is to slightly move my focus back and forth, side to side or up and down, but not so much that it's very obvious I'm doing it. Another is that I don't know if my eyes are naturally watery or I can just wool my tear ducts, but I can keep my eyes hydrated just enough that they don't dry out while staring. Oddly enough, and sometimes it can be a bit disconcerting, but I'll get stuck where my brain just basically relaxes all of my muscles and I find it difficult to want to blink or do anything else. Kind of like being in a self-induced hypnosis. I also do this. I talk to myself alone in my bedroom sometimes and I'll just be conversating with myself, chill out, nobody is talking back to me, and I'm totally aware I'm alone, about a subject, and sometimes even when I halfway into what I'm trying to say my brain will just start thinking of something totally unrelated and I'll completely forget what I was talking about. It takes me a minute or two to stop, think, and come back to what I was originally saying. This doesn't ever happen to me in real conversations though, but I believe it's because those are back-to-back dialogues. If it's a non-stop rambling monologue with myself then I tend to sometimes drift into La La Land time from time. Yes, I have had. I was diagnosed with it when I was in the second grade, I was probably 7 or 8 years old. I haven't taken my meds since 5th grade. I honestly feel fine without them, but I graduated high school by the skin of my balls. Well, I guess I don't know about useless. I used to run 2 tills at once at work when I was a gas station clerk. But no one liked me doing it even though the tills were still accurate and never short. Until the manager started stealing money and writing us up for it. Or another cashier doesn't like working with you because you are doing your job better than they are and sabotage you by making your till short, and dude kept having me count the till with nothing wrong in the morning instead of having someone count the till down correctly at night. Was always attacking me for something I wasn't even assigned to. Oops, sorry, a rant went on there. I guess according to Indeed I'm highly proficient in customer service. Edit, holy hell. I think this is my first ever blown up liked comment on Reddit that's reached past 200 likes. Thanks all. Means a lot. Same for my husband, he played a discipline priest. We no longer play since last October, but whenever we did any kind of grouped content people would compliment him on his healing. It got to the point where he became a minor celebrity on our server, in the good sense, and some of our guildmates would jokingly / half seriously ask him to marry them. As for my useless superpower, remembering everything about WoW. Need a lore question answered? Sure. Can't find a quest? I can tell you where to start the chain and the name of the NPC. A transmog you saw and vaguely described it? I can point you to 3 different transmogs and their alternative colors from raid difficulties / PvP. Guildmates and friends have jokingly referred to me as a walking wowhead. Remembering things. I can recall anything I saw. Card number, people's faces, town I pulled in to fill gas, places I haven't visited in a while. I know London Tube like the back of my hand. I remember all the streets in Chicago, Loop and North Side. For example, I have had 4 different DL numbers since I first got my DL. Once got pulled over, didn't have my DL, told the cop I remember my number. He thought I was being a smart ass, detained me, till he actually pulled the info to find I wasn't lying. FK that guy. I remember my dad's ID number. He was once just spoke it out loud and bam, now I know it. I used it once to access his bank via phone banking. I visited London in 2006 first time, was impressed with the tube, went there again for a friend's wedding in 2018. Took the train then tube from Heathrow to my friend's place. Didn't miss any stops. Pretty cool I guess, haha. I remember a lot of useless information, which I wanna delete, but I guess brains don't work like that. Cringe moments, sad moments, depressing times, failure moments. I remember it all so vividly. It becomes hard to ignore people too because you know them as acquaintances but you don't want to talk to them, but my body language becomes awkward since I'm avoiding them. Like this is the most useless power. Can't remember my own passwords though. I am amazing at learning, a working proficiency at nearly everything I have ever done, in an astonishing amount of time. I learned CNC machining in 2 weeks. I picked up woodworking well enough to sell things in about a month as a hobby. I learned how to do door-to-door sales in 1 week. I graduated 6th in my class in communications and electronics repair school and never studied. The thing that makes this useless is that I only ever have a functional knowledge of the subject and never excel at it. Sure, I learned C and C, but no job shop will employ me because I can't program, and production shops don't appreciate the tolerances I typically end up with. And yes, I do have ad. Why do you ask?